Every last drop, friends. Every last drop. Hi guys, welcome to the Craft Beer Channel. I'm Johnny, wearing an Oskar Blues hat, and I'm here with Chris from Oskar Blues, Bodean's in Old Street. Why? Because we've got 2 vintages of Ten Fidy to try, which is pretty awesome. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Please, initially tell me, were you the first guys to put a beer like this into a can?
I think it's pretty close to being the very first. It's one of those beers that definitely broke a lot of boundaries, and you know, a Russian Imperial Stout is not necessarily something people see as fitting from a can, but it's worked very well for us.
So when was it first brewed?
First brewed in 2005. Was a draft beer for the first couple of years at our brew pub in Lyons, Colorado.
And what was the response to a beer that strong in a tinny, which would have usually had like Bud or even worse?
It definitely turned a lot of heads, and I think there were a lot of skeptics at first, thinking, how could you put an amazing Russian Imperial Stout, 10.5% ABV in a vessel like that? It's become pretty widely accided now, as we see. You know, you see so many breweries.
Yeah, I mean, it's
around the world,
all over the world as well.
And
Brewdog just did a 13.5% beer in a can as well.
Yeah,
it's getting crazy. Well, let's crack the 2015, which is hopefully this one.
That is that one.
That's this one. Okay. And what can you tell me about the recipe?
Looks like motor oil.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah.
If you could run a car off that, it would be probably more expensive, but more awesome.
Yeah. A ton of malt, roasted, chocolatey, just really dark malts is what we go with, and then a lot of oats. So a lot of hops though as well.
Well, I was about to say, so I'm getting a ton of like coffee and almost milk chocolate, but there is a big citrusy, verging on like black IPA.
Yeah.
So it's big American sea hops as well.
A lot of hops, and I think bordering on like 80 IBUs or something crazy like that.
So on top of that, you'll get the roasted malt bitterness as well. Right. So it's pretty big. And it's almost like the citrus plus the roastedness ends up kind of licoricey.
Yeah.
Really, really beautiful.
Yeah, it is. It can be dangerous because it's 10.5%, but it doesn't drink that way. In a good way.
Yeah. I mean, in a blind taste test, I'd probably say that's like 7.5, 8.
Yeah.
So it's punching like 20% over what I'd expect it to. So you've kept these. This is 2013.
Yep.
You can do some proof there for the cameraman. Hey, Brad. See, why would you age a beer that is actually quite hoppy? What's going to happen to this beer in a can?
It's going to mellow, obviously, because over time the hop presence is going to diminish a little bit. But there's just so much other flavor going on the malt side, and it just kind of turns even more chocolatey, coffee-like. I've had this beer, a 2007 version of it from a can that was stored at a beer bar down in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, that at the time was 7 years old and tasted absolutely amazing.
We've got a lot of beer to drink before we can try the second.
We do.
So speed up the camera. That is beautiful. I mean, I never thought. You never think to drink an Imperial Stout fresh, but one like that, you'd want to get that real licoricey, citrusy edge on top of it.
Yeah,
amazing,
without a doubt.
So 2013 Ten Fidy. Wow, that smells completely different. Yeah, it's not necessarily gained a huge amount of chocolate or coffee, but it's gained that kind of malty malt biscuit, kind of umami addictiveness. It's slightly boozier, it's raisiny, it's malty, it's dark chocolatey now. It's almost more bitter, which is strange.
Yeah.
So the recipe is totally the same. So the variations will just be like the harvest of the malt and the hops.
Yeah,
and then
I mean, and that's the thing about craft beer is you're using and we use the best ingredients we can possibly find. But crops change from year to year, hops, malt, all that. So there is inherently going to be a little bit different quality to them. But in terms of the amount of hops, the amount of barley, oatmeal, all that stuff, it's all the same amount.
Yeah. And that just really hammers home how much a beer can change, because that's gone from bordering on black IPA but being much bigger and much more licorice-y, to being a full-on imperial stout. That's crazy.
And it's just been sitting in a can, perfectly safe, and
which also blows away this whole notion of the idea of a can not being the best vessel for beer, which is purely prejudice, because people have always had bad beer in can. Now they're getting good beer, and people need to let go of that.
Right.
These kind of beers just prove that, and that's why I love an imperial stout. You can't drink a lot of imperial stout, but every sip you have, it's just sort of chiseling away at this notion that beer can't be anything more than something you drink for a session. Both beers, they're the same beer, but both beers are sensational and totally different. Absolutely love both of them. Gun to my head, I couldn't choose. So thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to try that. And guys, if you can get hold of a vintage, do, but the fresh stuff is amazing. And what I've learned is drink it fresh or age it. Go big or go home, because both are stunning. Thank you very much, Chris.
Cheers.
Let's finish these cans. Maybe Brad can have some, we'll see.